okay, let's not sugarcoat this one. If I believe in Jesus, my parents will disown me. When a Muslim says that, it is truly the core thing behind 99% of the objections you get. So if you learn how to handle this one first and be there with them and sit with them, it'll be just way more fruitful. And I've heard this in my DMs every single day. I've personally lived it. It's not just an objection. It's not even a doubt, really. It's your nervous system breaking in half. And it's a warning bell. Because for most Muslims, this isn't just a change of religion. It's a betrayal. It's shameful. It's exile. It's renouncing your identity. It's saying, I don't know what I was doing before, but I'm ready to find the truth, and it might cost me everything. And for some of you, it actually could cost you everything. But what I want to share with you is why I still chose Jesus anyways, and why it was the most costly, freeing, most painful, but most glorious decision I've ever made, and how even in the pain and the crying and tears, it's turned into worship. Those things have all become a worship to God, wanting covenant, wanting truth and desire. And so let me be clear. This is not a Western versus Eastern thing. This is not a rebellion. This is not a call to dishonor your parents. This is about who you ultimately belong to, your core identity as a son and daughter of the Lord Most High, the thing that surpasses everything that your family and community and masjid and imams and friends could ever teach you. Because Islam teaches you this, that obedience equals honor, and honor is identity, that you want to be the Western or Eastern light of Islam in the world with all this chaos happening. And so the thought of disobedience is terrifying, because now you're betraying the people that are dying across the world, the people around you who have loved you and grown you in the bloodlines before you. But let me lovingly reframe this, and I hope it hurts a little bit for some people, because if your identity depends on obedience to family, then your God is no longer God. Your God is your family, because you are elevating that above all else. And I say that as somebody who has everything to lose. I wasn't born into dysfunction. I was born into a really nice, beautiful, successful Western family. I was born into a legacy. I was born into family businesses. I had top tier mentors of doctors and lawyers. I had respect and community and love that went back generations, and grit in the family that overcame even the worst poverty. And that was built on our Islamic identity. But when I met Jesus, I realized I had built my entire future on borrowed air. And what shocked me was this: Christ, in all of his glory and love, never tried once to hide the cost. He was not this soft shell Messiah. He was not this like nice flour tortilla Messiah. He was gripping and sharp. He says in Matthew 10:34, one of my favorite verses ever, I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. And a man's enemies will be the enemies of his own, the members of his own household. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Matthew 10:34-36, verse 37 in that same chapter says, anyone who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Earlier, he says, who is my father or brother or mother or sister? I think, like, who is my family except those who do God's work, right? And this stuff used to offend me because your family unit is everything in Islam. But now I get it. Jesus isn't saying don't love your parents. He's not saying disrespect and throw away your parents and go against everything you've ever known. He's saying if I'm not worth more than your deepest relationships, if you can't elevate God above your deepest, most loving relationships, then you haven't truly seen me yet. You don't know what I could do with you. You don't know that you wouldn't even have a family if it wasn't for me, that I put you here on this earth so that you could have these things and experience love and joy that all point back to what? Me. And let me get personal with you for a sec. When I chose to follow Christ, I lost access to my family's businesses. I had no incentive to work for my father's 7-figure businesses because I couldn't yoke myself in that environment. I lost my family's trust. They thought that my girlfriends and family and friends outside of them were influencing me. I lost my spiritual covering. The mothers and fathers of all of my friends. I lost mentors that I had since I was a child. I lost decades-long friendships because we believed that we were not going to the same place when we died. The only identity that I'd ever known was in Islam. And the worst part was that it wasn't angry persecution from my family and loved ones. It was just silence and distance and this deep, unspoken ache of knowing Sharik doesn't believe what we believe anymore, and he's stupid for that you're not one of us anymore. And you know how badly that hurts you? It crushes you and your soul, especially when you're a 20-something-year-old guy trying to find identity in this world. But you know what healed me? It wasn't logic. It wasn't apologetics. It was knowing that Christ felt it first, that he felt the persecution first, that he was rejected by his hometown. A prophet is denied in his hometown, that he was betrayed by his family, that he was killed by his people, that those who he loved so much that he yearned for and served still looked at him and said, denied, no, zip. And he still said to them, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they have done. Come, follow me. It is finished, that I cover you too. And let me tell you something that shifted everything for me. Christ says this, from Christ, truly I tell you, no one who has left home or brothers or sisters or mother or father or children for me and the gospel will fail to receive 100-fold in this lifetime and in the age to come. They will not fail to receive 100x of what was lost. That's in Mark 10. And I found this to be so radically true. It even goes back to the story of Job. It was restored, 7 times, 10 times? 100 times, he says. Because now, through obedience and pruning and me leaning into the Lord and becoming fully dependent on him, I now have brothers who call me higher. I have fathers in the Spirit who pray for me daily. Spiritual mothers who carry my burdens. A family not built on blood at all, but the blood and love and saving of Christ, that we all yearn for his heart, and through that his heart is implanted into us, and we experience deep revelation and prophecy and gifts every single day through the blood of Christ. And no matter how much I lost, I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't do it again. I wouldn't trade it, because everything I gained is everything that matters in my life. And let's break this down psychologically. Right? Because for a lot of people, it's not just the emotional storytelling that gets them, because a lot of people have deep relationships with what they believe is Allah, but they don't actually just see it's the character of Jesus. But most of us aren't really afraid of Jesus as being the truth. We're afraid of what it costs to admit it. And Satan knows that. Shaitan knows that. And so he uses this objection in your mind to keep you locked in fear, because it feels noble, because it looks like honor. I could never do that to my father. Right? But even our Father's bodies pass away on this earth, and we will have to be confronted with our Heavenly Father at the end of it. And so if your pursuit of truth stops where fear of rejection begins, you are not honoring something. You are actually being bonded by your psychological fear. And your family may say, hey bro, how could you betray us? And I'd lovingly ask them, why are we putting our family above God? Would you ask me to betray truth to make you guys comfortable? Would you rather me betray truth than betray comfort? These are questions that when you ask them, you are forced to go deep. There's no soft pillow stuff around that. It's not arrogance in its way. It's actually, in my opinion, it's actually the highest form of integrity. That what you say is what you mean, and it's done how you expect it to be done and the way it should be done. That's integrity. That your word means the world to yourself, and what you say, you mean it. Because deep down, you know what's real. Right? You believe in Christ, or maybe you're questioning Islam because, if you've been following this channel, you know the thousands of pieces of evidence that go against it. Let me give you this. Esther 4:14, okay? Who knows but that you came to a position for such a time as this, right? Niche verse. Let me explain what it means. Your boldness isn't going to destroy your family. It might save them. You might be the one who the Spirit is trying to awaken so that you can save a bloodline. You may be the one seed that makes them question. You may be the first person to stand in light. This is happening in my family right now because they see how unshakable over the last half decade I've been in my faith. And yes, they're going to hate it at first. They hated me at first. They hated Jesus first. But the gospel is not about being liked. It's about bringing light into darkness. It's about bringing Christ into the places where he is most persecuted. And even if you're the only one holding the torch, it's your role to hold it anyways, and the Lord will bless you 100-fold if you hold it anyways. Because this isn't about just changing religions, right? It's about who truth belongs to, who Christ is, what the Messiah did 2,025 years ago, and whether you follow it, even if it costs you everything. That's how he's testing you. He built you into a Muslim because he wants to see that you can leave everything on the table, and no matter what happens, you are eyes focused on the Lord, and that everything that you believe in and love is unto him, unto the Lamb, even if it costs you everything. And so if that's you, and if you're counting the cost, or maybe you've already given up the cost and you're debating if it was worth it, I want you to know, you are not crazy. You are not alone. You are not betraying your family. You're actually breaking generational chains off of them. That your heart and your posture with the Lord is going to shake people. Because Islam's biggest fear is not Christian missionaries. It's ex-Muslims preaching the gospel, saving hundreds of thousands of people at once, because everybody who has the same questions is now no longer afraid to come out because they saw somebody walk through their doctrine, and you're walking the same path that Jesus walked. He's not watching you from a distance, right? Christ is alive, and he is with us, and he's coming back to judge, and he's walking beside us right now. He's in this room. He's in your room. He's in this video. He's on the other side of all the pain. That's what he proved. That was his message. His gospel message was that, hey, you see me getting the most bloody murder. You see me going through all the suffering in the world, and I still have peace and hope. And that's peace and hope that the world cannot give. So if this is you, I know this is an instructional video, but we're spiriting. So ask him boldly. Cry out honestly, God, are you calling me? If you are, show me, and mean it with your heart. And don't let your family or friends or random people who will be dead in 50 years control what you think is going to be eternity, because it does matter. It really does. And I want to bless you with that. I love you guys. If you're not in our Skool community yet, skool.com/Christ. I'll link it below. Join 2,000 people right now who are all being discipled in devout Muslim apologetics. I love you guys. I'll see you guys on the other end.